we have information cards over here on the table. I believe if you know someone who might benefit from our services, please grab a card. They're very small, so they get into a wallet. As of several years ago, we now have in operation 2 supported housing programs open to non-permanent residents in need, one in Waterville and one in Augusta. We operate those long-term housing programs in collaboration with community housing community. Over the last year with COVID, we have reorganized a lot of our services and providing support groups by Zoom. Our skill-based prevention educator has totally revamped her program and has done videos, so she is providing free of charge to schools for prevention education. The funds from the towns that we serve are an important part of our overall funding mix, representing about 5% of our total annual budget. About half of our total funding does come through main PHHS, and they require that we request this funding as percentage from the towns, which are going to be live. We receive no funding directly from the county governments, Quebec or Somerset, and therefore we need to directly come to the municipalities to request that support. We work very hard to make sure to responsibly use our funding, and use only about 7% for administrative costs. The rest is directed to assisting victims and the community. I thank the team of Vernon for funding provided in the past and ask that the town continue to support this important work. It truly does take the community to end domestic violence, and we do appreciate the support of the time. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Further questions or discussion? There being none, are those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The article passes. Article 28. The city of Town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum for prospective generations. The Central Bank Area Agency on Aging. The amount requested is $1,009.22. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm chair of the Friends of the Coast Center in Boston.
Spectrum Generations is our area agency on aging. Its mission is to promote and advance the well-being and independence of older and disabled adults with the support of their caregivers who live in the community of their choice. Most programs serving Mount Vernon residents are based either at the Cohen Center in Honolulu or the main office in Augusta. These services include Meals on Wheels, community dining at the Cohen Center, family caregiver support, caregiver respite, dementia support, adult daycare at the Cohen Center, Bridges Home Services, which is a fee-based home care service, health and wellness classes, Medicare plan and drug coverage assistance, advanced directives and end-of-life planning assistance, the money management helps with budgeting, bill paying, checkbook balancing, and other financial management issues, and hosting of the AARP tax aid program of the Cohen Center. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, we have been able to continue to provide most of these services in a safe and responsible manner. In the most recent fiscal year, Spectrum Generations provided Mount Vernon residents services to 51 different residents, 402 meals via Meals on Wheels, 18 hours of outreach and counseling by aging and disability resource specialists, 133 community dining meals by 11 Mount Vernon residents at the Cohen Center, out of 727 free tax returns, we did 23 for Mount Vernon residents, and we especially thank Alice and Mary Ann and Anna for providing the Dr. Saul Library for 3 days with the tax preparation services. We serve most of our Mount Vernon residents. The estimated value of these services is at least $11,400. Our funding request is $1,009.26, just like the city. I have no idea how they came up with that. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Are there questions or further discussion on Article 28? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum for the 30 Mile River Watershed Association. The amount requested is $3,000.
I'm Tom Ward. I live in the former Jeff Dunn house next to the post office in downtown Mount Vernon. And I'm not as eloquent as Karen or David. So I will refer you to pages 22 and 23 in the report, town report, which gives the report for 30 Mile River Watershed Association. But those of you who voted in the first 4 hours that the polls were open on Tuesday may have seen me. I was recruiting volunteers to do courtesy vote inspections and to do invasive plant control. And I want to thank the 6 people who signed up to do that. It's a critically important issue right now because of the invasive plant situation on Androscoggin Lake. Last year was the very first year in the 30 Mile River watershed that we found invasive plants, specifically variable milfoil, and divers tried to remove it last fall. Unfortunately, when we went back this spring, it had proliferated and spread over a larger area near the boat launch in Wayne and Marina. And so the boats going in and out of that lake are carrying variable milfoil. So this is a big issue. And I wanted to mention in Leidy's report from 30 Mile, she mentions the hours of courtesy boat inspection. More than half of those hours, more than 1,500 hours of courtesy boat inspection were done on lakes and ponds in Mount Vernon, specifically flying on Parker Pond and Minnehaha Lake. And the amount of hours was increased last year by 30%, and this year it's being increased again by 30% because of the threat from these invasive plants. The other thing I wanted to mention is the invasive plant controls, which have been expanded, and we now have an invasive plant control coordinator trying to work across the ponds and lakes to ensure that we are consistently looking for and more proactively looking for invasive plants. Some of you may know that on Cobbessy now, there is a hybrid invasive plant, in addition to the 3 species of invasive plant that have closed down 2 of the boat launches on Cobbessy Lake. So this is a growing problem. The one other thing I wanted to mention is the water quality reports. They're mentioned in here. They have been being done on Parker and Minnehaha for the last 7 years. They are now being started this year on Flying Pond. You can look them right up online, the 30 Mile website, and they obviously track, in addition to water clarity, dissolved oxygen, and phosphorus, nitrogen, and so forth. A lot of basic information about the water quality, but at this point I have to say I'm most concerned about invasive plants. So I really encourage you to support this amount, which is the same as what we requested last year.
Any further questions or comments on Article 29?
Oh, guess what?
Not leave this station. I just want to say to people here, many of you don't know, that 30 Mile River card is donated so we could help do the dredging and get fish back into the stream there for the fire station.
Any further discussion on Article 29? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The article passes. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum for the Sexual Assault Crisis and Support Center. The amount requested is $574. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum for hospice volunteers. The amount requested is $800. Any discussion?
I'm Elizabeth Tired of West Road. The Hospice Volunteers are a nonprofit based in Waterville. All of their services are provided by volunteers at very low administrative costs for a very small staff. They supplement their services provided by the medical hospice program who cares for people in their homes and in nursing homes to improve quality of life for people who are in their last months of life and to support their families through the dying process. The hospice volunteers really help to provide everything from companionship to running errands for the patient and family to any other number of support that they can offer that will improve the quality of life for the person who's dying and the experience, make it less stressful for the family, patient, and the family. I don't have numbers in front of the number of residents they serve. They'll be more than the obituaries of people who have been in hospice, the support they've provided. There's often been a volunteer who's really been invaluable in making that experience less difficult for the patient and family. So I thank you all for offering for support in the past, and I encourage you to support this year. Thank you.
Sir.
My name is John Hartnett. I just wanted to ask, is it appropriate that we make a motion to increase that $1,000?
Okay. Things are recommendation.
I'd like to make a motion then that we increase it to $1,000 this year. I think it's a very fine organization with volunteers.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to amend Article 31 to increase it from $800 to $1,000. Is there discussion on the amendment? There being none, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The amendment passes. Now we're back down to the article as amended, which at this point in time is to raise and appropriate $1,000 for hospice volunteers. Is there further discussion on the article? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Okay, last page. Article 32. To see if the town will authorize the use of revenues from the Ordinance Review Committee, the Planning Board, and Appeals Board to help offset the expenditures of such departments. So moved. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, Article 33. Bear with me, this is a longer one. To see if the town will authorize the select board to convey to Mount Vernon state legislators, members of Congress, Governor, and President of the United States, that the town hereby calls upon our federal elected representatives to enact carbon pricing legislation to protect Maine from the cost and environmental risks of continued climate inaction. To protect households, we support cash-back carbon pricing that charges fossil fuel producers for their carbon pollution and rebates the money collected to all residents on an equal basis with monthly dividend checks. The record of the vote approving this article shall be transmitted by written notice to the above-mentioned parties by the Board of Selectmen within 30 days of this vote. So moved. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I have a question. Well, let Sandy come forward, and then she may be able to answer your question too. You're probably better off holding it, Sandy. Yes.
Needs to get this very low. I live with papers like this. call for a whole new gas shortage. Thank you, I promise you all, right there, okay. You go to know I'm saying right. And we've lived in that wilderness over the last over 25 years. And one of the things that I've noticed about our town, wilderness, is that people help, they really do help each other in this town. For instance, we've had walking out of a terrible accident with broken neck and back injuries. Dozens of people volunteered to take care of her garden and her chickens, and that was very important to her. Another one was when George Smith's ALS disease deteriorated to the point where he could no longer help around the place. Dozens of people over years volunteered to help him and now that he is gone, they're helping him still. Today we have another opportunity, but this one will be to help the planet. That sounds like a big project, but this warrant, the carbon fee and dividend initiative, is the way to do that. At least 45 other countries are already pricing carbon as a way to avoid climate catastrophe. In there, little handout that was on your desk, George Smith said in 2017, what will it take to convince you that climate change is happening and is a problem that must be addressed? Perhaps Lyme disease and deer ticks. My husband had 2 ticks on his back yesterday. The terrible loss of commercial fisheries along the Maine coast, as the ocean water warns, our shrimp are disappearing again. The huge number of moose dying from ticks, the erratic weather, 90 degrees a week ago, 50 this morning, the huge number of the erratic weather, including frightening increase in fires, floods, and hurricanes. And George goes on to say, well, you better get on this soon because your help is desperately needed to save our planet. We must solve this problem for our children and grandchildren. If we fail to do this, they are the ones that will suffer, and eventually they will blame us for failing to do something. So, that was part of what George said. Now, what sold me on this particular way of helping to alleviate climate change over time? Here's what sold me. This is how it will work. A carbon fee is paid by fuel producers by fossil fuels that's sent to the American Treasury in a trust fund, can only be used for this. All of those fees are returned to American households at $20 per adult household members and $10 for children per month from the trust fund. For a family of 4, that's $60 a month. This form of carbon pricing gives fees to the citizens instead of to government programs. It's expected that the fuel producers will pay their pass the costs on to the consumer, right? But these dividend checks that will be sent to citizens automatically should cover the costs. Other carbon pricing bills, and there are others that the government is looking at, will use the money collected that won't go back to the citizens, which is what they decided to go to. Okay, so you won't get your money back, or the money that you might need because of the increases of fossil fuels. Many state and federal senators and representatives of every town that passes this article are told that their town passed the article. This will signal to our congressional delegation in the government that any carbon pricing needs to be sent as a dividend back to the people instead of creating more government programs or regulations. By putting a pollution fee on the fossil fuels, the market economy will work to shift away from burning fossil fuels. Fuel producers will have to become innovative and find innovative ways to cut the pollution caused by burning fossil fuels. The less burning of fossil fuels will swiftly reduce carbon emissions, 40% within a decade and 90% in 30 years. So it's a great thing to do. Help our planet. If you have any questions, we have 2 people that are going to answer you more. And Larry, one of this and Larry, thank you.
I told Lou I would recognize him as soon as you.
Okay.
So Lewis Allen, I live on North Road. Sorry,
I have a health issue and I want to sit down. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. Listen, I see explaining this, but I just want to make it clear. About 35, 40 years ago, this town voted to make it a nuclear-free zone. At the time, we had a very conservative select board. I'm not suggesting this select board is like that, but after the town passed that ordinance, I got suspicious because of something the selectmen said. And I got up and said, are you going to send this to the Congress as it directs? And they all said no. Not only did they not, we're not going to do it, but they weren't even going to tell us. All I know is from the selectmen, as a record, will you send this if it passes?
I will.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's a definite yes.
Hi, I just wanted to add to that the people that are working on this initiative are willing to actually write the letter for the select board, so it doesn't actually do too much to your workload. And we will definitely make sure that that gets sent out.
Further discussion or questions?
No, you can be heard with this.
Yes, boys, I remind you here anyway. I'm against taxes as a whole. And I think at the G7 conference they're having now, they're talking about a worldwide tax for this, as well as for other things. 19% of the world pollution comes from the United States when it comes to cars. China is 30%. I suspect that China would rather pay any fees than to solve the problem. The United States has been a leader in this for many years. I expect we'll continue to do so. Only 19%, but if we can alleviate any of it, I would support it. And that's why I support this initiative.
I have one thing to add to that, and that is that a lot of our trading partners are already putting a price on carbon. And part of that is that if we don't do it, they will charge us. There will be like I don't know what kind of, it's a border control fee. So that we will have to actually pay more if we don't have a fee on carbon.
John Harper, live down by the dam. This is a little bit tough because I think this is doing the right thing the wrong way. I really do believe we have a problem. The problem isn't necessarily the climate. The problem really is oil and our use of oil. We know that oil is going to run off over time. So everybody, this proposal, a number of other proposals, is truly trying to make a difference on our use of oil so that we can live longer and find alternative energy sources. So I approve us trying to find some energy sources other than oil at this time. The problem is, I think, with this particular initiative is it's not really getting to part of the problem and the solution that we really need. And all of that. So I have three issues with this particular proposal. Number one, we don't represent the whole town here. If we vote on this, we're not representing the whole town. You might get other people who are opposed to this who may not see this. So that's a problem for me. I'd rather see us put the vote in an article to vote on this whole town. The second issue I have is I think there's a problem with us getting to a cycle here of they're going to increase their costs to us, they're going to increase the taxes, and then increase the costs to us. We're going to get into a very bad situation. It may not, and it's going to be regressive because anybody who uses oil who has less income than others it's gonna be regressive to them, it's gonna hurt them more. The other thing it's gonna do, on the farmer cap, is increase the cost of food. Because this amount of money going back to families is not gonna go back to businesses that use this oil right now. All of agriculture, all the food you eat comes from oil. And the prices for your foods will go up tremendously. I use a lot of oil, a lot of gas to run the grocery business. So that's a problem. So I don't believe the second part of this, of having it come back to the families, really enhance. And the third thing I just want to make a comment on, I found it very interesting that even now, Bill Gates and can't remember the other person have just invested a ton of money into a new nuclear facility out in Wyoming. I don't know if you've heard about this. And the nuclear industry for good, my goodness, 20, 30 years has been working on a better system for doing nuclear energy, which is a really good solution if you can get rid of the pollution problem. I believe they've done that. And Bill Gates is now funding a project out in Wyoming. So I think the better approach is not to just get into this vicious cycle with the oil companies, but to take whatever money you get out of the oil companies and put it towards a direct solution for us. And I think nuclear is going to be one of them coming down the pipe. So those are my concerns. I know you might all go ahead and vote for this, but I'd like to just offer up an amendment to this and see if this works. To just remove the second sentence that says to protect households who support cash back carbon pricing, and the rest of that sentence. Because I would support the first one. I think we need to be sending a message as a public to our legislators to get something really going. I don't think we need to be getting the money back at this point. I think we've got to keep pushing our legislators and Congress to come up with solutions and find those solutions at this point. Thank you very much for not listening.
I think I understand your concerns.
I'm sorry. I think I understand your concerns, and I had concerns initially too. But to me, the bottom line is carbon taxing is going to happen soon. And to me, to my thinking, this is the best way to do it because the money is going directly to the population, people. It's not going to public programs, whatever the government wants to do.
Now, I just want to make a comment about, you said you thought this would be a regressive act. And I don't think it is. I think it's more progressive because the money comes back to individual households. And there is a, on the internet, and if anybody wants to check in with me, well, actually, my email address, let me give it out because you can email me and I can send you links that show that what your individual estimate would be for getting the money back. And it makes it a more progressive one because lower income folks don't use as much oil. That's true. But they get just as much money back as people that use a lot of oil. And this particular bill would encourage alternative energy innovation. I mean, that's how it's actually the federal bill that's been introduced, 2307, HR 2307, actually calls it the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. But I can send you links if you would like them. My email address is debstaller, DEBSTAHLER @hotmail.com. And I can send you a bunch of links for what your individual circumstances you would get that. There's also, I know, a link from a model that was put together by En-ROADS, MIT, put together by MIT folks who are, you know, those smart engineering guys, that shows that this type of carbon pricing is one of the best ways to reduce our carbon footprint and to get on a better track of that.
I think we're back to reaching a dead horse. If we look at what the alternatives are, I agree with John in many ways. If you look at solar, take a drive to farm, look at that solar farm up there. We talked about carbon footprint. What's going to happen to the light reflection off those solar panels? What's it going to do to the outer atmosphere? We've got a 200, maybe 300 by now, acre greenhouse in Madison. You can actually see it from the space station, reflecting light. So when you look at the carbon footprint, I do support this, but I think the carbon footprint is just a small piece of what we need to do in work today. And I think we all need to take advantage of that. He's right. The only clean energy we have right now that doesn't limit us is nuclear energy. We are where we are.
It would seem to me that none of these things will move quickly, and I've never known any kind of legislation to just go in as suggested. I think that we need to get our foot in the door and make sure they're considering that it needs to return to the investors, which is us, and perhaps change so that those who are using a lot of oil also get some kind of return. Everybody, we want to mitigate the damage. That's what's most important. And the main point to me is it does start somewhere. It's not going to be the way we start. It will be something else. But I think it's important to make a statement. We want to see it returns to the people spending the money.
Does anybody wish to speak who has not already spoken to the topic?
Just a point of order, we have appropriate.
John offered an amendment, is that appropriate at this point? And there was no second to the amendment, but I think it was just sort of passed over in this discussion. That's just the point of order I think bring that up.
Normally the stuff in the black letter can't be amended because that changes when we put the notice. Okay. Anybody who has not, who wants to speak that has not already spoken? Any further discussion at all? Well, hold on.
Thank you, I can't get up for all this. John has made a really interesting point. And I think we all agree that this is a step towards the right direction. But if the oil producers have to pay this cost, they will pass it on to the consumers. So when I drive my car, I'm consuming the oil producers and I'm going to get some cash back. However, people who don't use as much will not pay as much as increased prices, but they'll still get $20 back, whatever. However, everybody, what John just said, listen to that very carefully. Every farmer running tractors, sprayers, etc., harvesters, everybody will, in the farming industry, will pay a much increased price. And so your food prices will go up. And so the poor person who isn't using that much gasoline still eats all the food, and they will have a much higher increase in food. So I just want to make sure everybody recognizes that. It's like the butterfly effect. Finance is just like the environment. One small ripple here causes a tsunami over there. So you've got to think about the whole big circle of things. And that's all I wanted to say.
Further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate up to $2,800 for a consultant to develop a 5-year financial plan for a municipal owner fiber to the home internet network. This plan will help townspeople understand the sustainability of such network, along with the range of services and pricing needed, and the percentage of homes needed to commit to the service to make it financially viable. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
My name is Bill Rosenberg. I live on Grants Point Road, and I took over from Chuck Wright in this winter, last winter, as the chair of the broadband committee for Mount Vernon. First, I want to make sure everybody recognizes the hard work that Chuck did for almost 2 years, working with folks from Fayette, Leeds, Reedfield, Vienna, Wayne, and forming the Western Kennebec Lakes Community Broadband Association. If you have internet, you can look them up on their website, wklcba.org. The major purpose of this article really ties back to Article 15 that was voted in, which was that we will accept money. In order to get money from the billions of dollars of grant money at multiple layers of government to improve broadband in our town, there are certain things we have to do. One of them is to assess the financial feasibility of the alternatives that we consider. This article, or warrant article, is to enable us to spend up to $2,800. I doubt it would be that much, to hire a consultant who's already been hired by Reedfield, Wayne, Fayette, and I think Vienna, to put together an analysis that will help us understand what the costs and implications are of various alternatives for improving broadband. I'll say one other thing, and then if there's questions, I'll be glad to answer them. The granting authorities have made it clear that community-based regional approaches are preferred. It's very hard for a small town like us or any of our neighbors to take on a project like this on their own. So we've been working hard as a coalition to try to figure out ways to collaborate. What coalitions do, I guess. If we get to the point of applying for the grant money that's available, we will have to have this financial feasibility, which will be done at the coalition level. So we expect that one of the options that is viable, we hope, will be for us and a number of other towns to make an appeal for funding together. And that will increase our chances for success.
Any further discussion or questions?
John Martin again. I just want to thank you for the work you started to do on this. And I want to thank all of you for listening on the last article. As opposed to having rebates for money, this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of putting money towards a solution to reduce the carbon, because then we can work from home, less traffic, less use of automobiles. So applaud you for doing this, and it is part of the overall solution going down the road. Thank you.
I just have a housekeeping question, primarily. Yep.
Hi, Chris Jackson, Bill. I'm just wondering why you guys are not doing, why are you not, running this through like the other, town committees? If we have a broadband committee, why is this funding not just part of the regular, not the requested? Are you guys gonna be asking for a separate amount of money every year? Or should we just make you part of our regular town?
We decided to put it in as a separate article, A, to give some visibility to it, and B, because it's kind of us reaffirming joining that coalition financially.
And the broadband committee has only been an official committee of the town for a couple of months, as I recall. So in some ways, we're still getting organized. But I expect that you'll be hearing a lot more from us in the near future. We're planning a public meeting to give you much more detail on what we're doing. And I expect that we may need some kind of a small budget in the future for things like communications, surveys. If you go on the town website, you can see some of the results of the survey. We've had about 150 people respond. So you can see how your neighbors feel about this issue.
Bill and I play golf together, so we talk about this all the time. But we wanted to hear from the people first. That's why this was put in. Because this is a big project. It could, at the time, could run into a lot of money. It depends on what comes down from the federal government, the state government, and so forth. And on that note, we set up, thanks to Tom Ward and Jim Ruby, we set up a grant writing committee. They're in the process of developing that committee. This is something new. Bill has volunteered. We've got a couple of other volunteers. We've got professional grant writers. And the purpose of the whole thing is to have this committee in place so that when the monies come down, we will be prepared to be like thousands of other people, first in line, but we want to be there to be able to pull in some of these grants for the town. So if any of you have grant writing experience, Tom Ward or Jim Doobie would be the people to connect to. Tom is over there waving his hand. Okay?
Further questions or discussion? There being none, all those in favor of Article 34 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Article 35, to see if the voters will vote to authorize the state to issue licenses after local select board approval for the sale of all liquor as defined in Maine Title 28A, subsection 2, to be consumed off or on the premises of any licensed establishment on any day of the week, in compliance with Title 28A, subsection 123, local option. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'm going to recognize the selectman to explain it.
Yeah, I just want to quickly note, this is nothing new. We're not changing anything about our the town's rules around liquor, but the state did send us a very detailed letter this year that there was a new state law passed around the local option, if you will, for alcohol local laws around alcohol sales. And over the years, starting, they went through all the different votes that we've taken as a community, like 68 and 72 and so on and so forth. It started out that the community said, okay, we'll allow wine and beer only, except for Sundays. And then there was one, oh, well, we'll allow it on Sundays. And then there was liquor, oh, we'll allow it every day except Sunday. And now we'll allow it every day of the week, including Sunday. So this one warrant article is just in response to the state to reaffirm what we've already voted on over the last 50 years, that essentially we're a town that is not dry. We do allow the sale of all alcohol every day of the week. Simple as that. So it's just reaffirming to the state in answering the letter from the here of alcohol and beverages, blah, blah, blah. That's all, nothing's changing.
Further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of Article 35 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The article passes. Article 36, to see if the town will vote to make the clerk slash tax collector slash registrar positions appointed positions by the select board starting June 14, 2022.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. The select board want to discuss it?
Yes.
Reluctant.
Is she looking at me? There are, in my mind, I'm gonna speak just for me on this, and I'll let the other board members if they choose to. There are two issues that we felt that this was important to address. Number one, the state now has authorized that for every, 40 hours of work, you receive 1 hour of sick leave. And by being an elected official, in Heather's case, she is not eligible for sick leave. They have to be appointed position. So that's number one. The second reason is, in my mind, and this, she'll get angry at me, but the second reason is that over the years, there's been a lot of fluctuation in the hours that the office is open. And there's been some disagreements between the different departments about the hours that the office is open. And so by being appointed, this gives the select board a voice in discussing that with the clerk's office and so forth as to what would be the best hours for the office to be open. In the past, as an elected official, they pretty much have the say in it. And so those are my two reasons for this item.
I just wanted to add a comment. A couple of years ago, we did an updated comprehensive plan. Any of you remember voting for that? One of the things that we covered in the comprehensive plan was governance, at least a little bit. And at the time we voted for that, we decided that the way things are is the way things it should be for a while longer, some period of time. And the comprehensive plan is really just a guide for us. We're not governed by it. We don't have to do what it says in it or not do or whatever. But it's a vote of the citizens to give boards like ours guidance over decision making. Many towns our size and slightly larger have gone with town manager style of government, where the select board isn't as active in actually running government, which is fine. We've always wanted to be fiscally conservative around that, because once you hire a town manager, it's approximately $100,000 bill every year, benefits, salary, etc. So we've been trying to hold off on that. But this board, the last board, we're seeing more and more work that the select board has to do. And more, I'm sure that the clerk sees more work. All the departments are seeing, there's more residents, there's more activity, there's more building, whatever. So we're really trying to hold off on going to a town manager style of government as long as we feasibly can. So this isn't per se a step in that direction, but it does give the board, it does give you a place, the buck stops here, if you will. When citizens come in and complain about something to the select board, we don't get a lot of complaints on Heather, so it's nothing personal, but if somebody were to come in and complain about a decision that the clerk makes, our response is, well, you elected her, go work it out with her. It's not, seriously, that's literally our response. So this is just an attempt to, in my opinion anyways, put off going to a town manager style of government, but having some authority within the town hall to, make decisions and be responsive directly to citizens. That's all. I can live with it either way, but that's just my opinion on it.
Any further discussion?
Can we ask her to weigh in on what she thinks?
Well, you can ask anything, whether she answers or not, it's up to her.
In my opinion, in my opinion, the elected, if you kept it elected, it would give all the citizens the choice, not leave the responsibility to just 3 of the citizens to be able to do whatever. You guys should have your own voice in this whole thing. That's how I feel.
Further discussion? Mike?
An interesting conversation. Several years ago, when I was selected, I took it upon myself to go to Massachusetts, bring back a charter for the town of Mount Vernon. And upon doing that, I passed it to Sue to look at it. I passed it to the select board to look at it. I think it needs to be done, and I thought the governance committee, who has done an excellent job for the town over this period of time, would be the entity to look at bringing that charter up to date so we could live with it in this day and age. But when I did that, we were looking at the treasurer's position to make that appointed as opposed to elected. I don't think the charter allows that, number one. And until you revise the charter, I think you have to go by the original charter because it stands on its own legal grounds. Number two, I don't think that this is anything but a control issue, taking the vote away from the people and putting it under 3 people. I think it's wrong. The venue is wrong. It should be, in my opinion, on a ballot, whether you believe in it or don't believe in it, however you feel. I believe that the whole town should have some say in it. So, to me, it's a control issue, and I think it should go before the town. I would vote it down, recommend to vote it down, and put it on the ballot if that so be possible. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Please come, sir. Then I'll recognize you if you, but please come up.
Hey, how's it going? My name is John from Raylo. Congratulations on winning. I feel this is something that the town should vote on, and 3 people being the only people that have a say on that, I feel is wrong. Everyone that's here is here because they want to vote on the town, so I do believe that that should say our opinion. Thank you very much.
Just simply, the whole town should get a chance to vote on it. The whole town has had a chance to come here today and vote on it.
I just want to know, what's the term? How long is the term for once you're elected?
I'm elected every 2 years. That is just-
Thank you.
The answer is every 2 years. Yes.
So, coming off from the select board, I served for 1 year, I stepped in, resigned. And I previously was on the 3-year term. So I've been out for 3 years, and I can tell you, it has changed. There is a lot more work. There is a lot more, there's a lot more that needs to be worked in consolidation. You've got to come together. You have to have almost an office-type setting where you collaborate and you have continuity. The clerk's position, her authority by being appointed does not change in the sense that she still has all the clerk authorities. She will pick her deputy. The select board does not pick her deputy. She does. If the clerk leaves under an elected position, the deputy is out of her job. In an appointed position, if the clerk leaves, the deputy is out of her position. That does not change. The authority is there. The thing that this will do is, one, it will set up for continuity within the town office. The select board will have an appointed treasurer that they work with her on financial matters. They will have appointed clerk and deputy clerk that they will work and oversee and pull together as a group. And also, the biggest thing for me, and I guess it doesn't matter, is when I looked at it, I felt really bad in this new law under the state that Heather is not able to have, we're not able to allow benefits, but we can to her deputy, which is interesting, but that's the way it happens. And the other thing is that, you know, what that would end up doing, and I don't know if we're really good at this, it's in the past has been, you set the office hours, and the clerk has to fill those hours. So whatever way she makes that work, she makes that work. That doesn't change under appointed. Elected, it's the same way. There's office hours, the clerk fills it. Appointed, there's office hours, she fills it. So that's kind of where I was one, to offer benefits, and two, it adds continuity. And make you put your people in.
Anybody else who wishes to speak?
It would seem to me that rather than changing the administration to the selectmen, is that we change the job description for the person that serves the purpose. And we could call it something else and give her benefits, and we could give her the autonomy of making her own decisions. I think that having people vote on the position is a very important aspect of a democracy, and I think we need to keep it.
Anybody who hasn't spoken already that wishes to speak to it?
I would agree to bring it back to the people of Mount Vernon. I would also agree that we provide that governance committee should take a really close look and provide us some guidance and bring a proposal forward this coming year. It's been a great discussion. It's bringing up some of the needs. But I would say let the governance committee start to really deal with it and then bring it back to the people. Thank you.
I would note parenthetically that this is the people of Mount Vernon. This is the legislative body of the town. You could request a written ballot. There would be a separate procedure, but it would be also, frankly, just like the elections last Tuesday, part of the town meeting. All right?
I don't agree with it. Obviously with a town of 1,400 people, these are the people who show up to care. But there are a lot of people out there that are not here today that do care. And I think they should have a voice in what happens, whether it stays appointed or elected. I think they should do that. And again, I would say, let's take a look at the charter, bring the charter up to date, do that, and whether you make it appointed or elected, you know, I'm kind of sitting on the fence both ways, but I think the whole town should be on a ballot issue and not before a select committee.
I just want to point out that out of the 1,640 residents of town, which are voters, we only had 135 or so show up to vote on Tuesday. So I personally don't agree with the statements that people don't have the opportunity. I'm sorry. Me personally, I won't speak for the board, but speaking for myself, I will always try to preserve a town meeting where we can listen to opinions and be swayed one way or another. But this is a traditional New England town meeting, and this is, in my opinion, how a small town, should run their town meeting, not secret ballots like Reedfield. That's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for the board.
Taking things back to the current topic, any further discussion on whether to make the clerk, tax collector, registrar positions appointed as of next June?
John can go first.
So I just got a quick question. How come we don't have like a official Facebook group that stuff like that gets brought into people's attention? Like most of the friends I know about Vernon aren't actually here because whether they're working or what the case is, a lot of people just have busy lives, especially if you're, a younger individual. So I feel that there should be more, like, for instance, the TV channel. I don't know anyone that watches the town meeting because it's not on a, if you don't have over-the-air TV, you can't watch the meetings. So a lot of the information kind of just stays on who is proactive, which everyone in here, awesome job by showing up and being proactive. But I do feel that there should be more information so people can read it and, make
Important topic, but it's not your name, this particular question.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on this particular question? Susan?
So I don't want to get into history that much here, but I was on the governance committee with Sandy Wright, Judy Farron most recently. And I think we've looked at this 4 times now. Most recently last year, or maybe 2 years ago, the issue of appointed versus elected. We interviewed the members of the board, we interviewed the people in the positions, and this is, I think, 2 years ago now. Our recommendation at that time was to go to an appointed treasurer and to keep the town clerk position as elected. At that time, we did not feel we were ready. And that included talking with the members of the board. Now we have a different board. Last year, I think it was last year, we passed an article here at town meeting, we went outside. We set the hours for the town office. So that we have set by an ordinance. We also, that was part of the job description. We have a job description that we passed at town meeting, including hours. So that seems like that part of it should be addressed. And speaking for myself, and I don't know if it's because of the town, but certainly if the town wants us to look at this again, maybe things have changed, maybe there are different issues that we can look at, we're happy to do it. But, this has been a perennial issue going back, like when I first moved to town, like in the 90s, we were talking about this. So I think it's something that needs to be very carefully thought out and deliberated, and if you folks want us to look at it again, I'll have to do it.
Anybody who hasn't spoken to the topic? There being none, I call for a vote. On this particular topic? Okay.
So if this does get voted in, is it able to be changed after the fact, or is that a set in stone change, the town's changed forever type of thing?
Frankly, just like you are able to change things by this process today, we could probably do it again. Nothing is set in stone.
I believe, my own opinion is, this was brought out because of office hours. This screen said so, basically. We work 9 to 5 on Monday, and then 3 days a week were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was 7 to 3. Never been open on a Friday. And then we work the first Saturday of the month, 9 to 12. And that was agreed upon at one of the selectmen's meetings. So I think we've reached everybody. I don't know, I think you all should have the say. I don't think it should just come down to the 3 who's here.
I just want to point out that everybody can have their say with the select board as well. But I do want to support Heather in that she's been very flexible around the hours. And I think everybody appreciates that. So.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on this. All those in favor of Article 36 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Yay.
I can't tell, so we're going to try it again by raising your hands. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Come up, please. Get a difference here. All those opposed?
Keep them up, please.
Keep them up. The article failed. It is my understanding that your prudence on the prior fiscal articles has rendered Article 37 and 38 moot because you are not exceeding the property tax levy limit. So we will go pass over those. One last comment.
All right, so we're passing over these because we kept our budget flat, and it's actually down 1%, as everybody knows. So last year was flat, this year down 1%.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn and remind you again about the library food sale. If you don't want to take it home. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying yay. Yay.